Hi, my name is Lena Moreau and I'm 24 years old. This story is real, it's mine. It happened to me just over a year ago when I decided to leave everything behind and take a job at a secluded coastal inn in Maine. I wasn't looking for anything traumatic. I wasn't escaping some horrible trauma. I was just tired of the noise, the kind of tired that sleep can't fix. So I thought maybe the sound of the ocean would, but what I found in that old creaking building was something no one warned me about. A room with a number that shouldn't have existed, a photograph no one remembered taking, a woman everyone forgot. I'm not here to convince you, I'm just here to tell the truth. If you're watching or listening, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this story if it stays with you the way it stayed with me. This story is written and edited by Dark Lifeside Diaries. Job offer came through an old college friend I hadn't spoken to in months. She knew someone who owned an inn along the coast, a little family-run place that catered to off-season travelers and writers trying to disappear. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough. So I packed 2 suitcases, left a note on my fridge that said, "Gone a while. Not running, just wandering," and boarded the train to Thomaston, Maine. The ride was long and quiet, mostly gray trees blurred by a fogged window. When I arrived, a man named Milton picked me up, mid-50s, quiet. Smelled like pipe tobacco and salt water. He drove an old red pickup with a spider-webbed windshield crack and didn't say much beyond, "We keep to ourselves out here, that a problem?" I shook my head. It wasn't. We arrived at the inn just after 5 p.m. It was old but beautiful, white painted. Wood faded to a soft cream navy, shutters peeling at the corners, and a long porch with wicker chairs and fading cushions. "Welcome to Black Hollow Inn," the sign read. The name sounded like something from a horror novel, but the place felt more tired than dangerous. Milton handed me a set of old-fashioned keys. "Room 5, he said. "That's your staff wing, breakfast at 6. And don't go upstairs unless you're cleaning." I asked how many rooms the place had. He said 8. Simple 8 rooms, but that night while unpacking my bag and arranging my books beside the bed, I flipped through the old laminated welcome binder left in the room. Room 1, Ocean View King. Room 2, Double Suite. It listed all the way down to Room 8, and then at the bottom of the page in faded ink, there it was, Room 9. No description, no photo, no price, just the name, a line of text, Room 9. I went downstairs and asked Milton about it. He looked at me too long before answering. "Must be a printing mistake," he said. "There's only 8. But I saw something in his eyes, a pause like he'd rehearsed that line before. I let it go, but I kept the binder. That night, I walked the halls after midnight. The guests were all asleep. The wind howled through the thin windows, and the wooden floors creaked under every step. The upstairs hallway smelled like lavender and dust. There were 8 rooms, room 1 to room 8. I counted twice, but between room 7 and room 8 there was a narrow corner, almost like a wall that didn't quite fit. Something about the spacing was off. The hallway made a sharp left before room 8. It was a dead end, or should have been, but the next morning while vacuuming upstairs, I found it. A door tucked into that crooked bend in the wall, not painted like the others. It was darker old wood, and the brass doorknob looked untouched by time. No plaque, but something told me this was room 9. I tried the knob, it didn't turn locked. When I asked Milton again, he brushed it off. "That wing's shut storage." "Then why is there a number in the binder?" I asked. He looked tired. "Then we don't talk about room 9. He said, "If you want to keep this job, you won't either." That night I dreamt of the door, only in the dream it was open, and there was a woman inside, standing still, her back to me, long hair, a white dress that fluttered even though there was no wind. When I woke up, the key to room 9 was on my nightstand. I hadn't taken it, I hadn't found it. It simply appeared. I stared at the key like it was breathing. Its silver edges were cold worn, the metal tag dangling from the rings simply read 9, hand engraved, not machine cut like the rest I checked. The front desk cabinet, the staff drawers, even the binder again. No mention of where the room 9 key should be stored, no explanation for how it got there. I knocked on Milton's office door twice that morning, but it stayed locked. I waited, pacing, unsure whether to hide the key or confess, but something inside me, something beyond curiosity, wanted to know. It wasn't defiance, it was a pull. Like I had to open that door by sunset. I was standing in the upstairs hallway again, this time holding the key tight in my palm like a charm or a weapon. The hallway was quiet except for the sound of the sea whispering outside through aging windows. I approached the strange wall, turned the hidden corner between room 7 and 8. The door was still there, unlabeled, dustier than before, or maybe that was my imagination layering fear over detail. My hand shook slightly as I inserted the key. It turned effortlessly, as though it had been waiting. The door creaked open, revealing a room swallowed In shadows, it smelled like old cedar and something older, not raw, but memory. The light switch didn't work. Only one narrow window let in a shaft of fading gold light, enough to reveal an antique vanity, a small writing desk, and a faded upholstered armchair facing the wall. No bed, no guests had slept here in a long time, if ever. The wallpaper was floral, peeling slightly at the corners, but intact. The wood floor beneath me groaned like it hadn't felt weight in years. I stepped inside. The air changed, not colder but heavier, like it pressed against me, not violently but with purpose. I turned slowly, scanning the room. That's when I saw it. On the far wall above the writing desk hung a large framed photograph, black and white, thick frame. The kind you'd see in a museum or a family home that's held too many generations. The photograph showed a woman mid-20s sitting in the very armchair I had just passed, legs crossed, hands folded in her lap. Her hair was long, dark, parted neatly. Her dress looked like something from the 1930s, plain, elegant, with buttons down the center. Her eyes stared straight at the camera, or rather at me, and here's the part that froze my spine. She looked exactly like me, not just a resemblance. Not just similar features, it was me, my eyes, my shape, my mouth, my expression, but it couldn't be. This photo was old. You could feel its age in the texture of the paper, and the way the frame's edges had dulled from decades of air. I stepped back, heart thundering, nearly stumbling over the worn rug behind me. My breath caught, and I suddenly felt the very wrongness of this place settle over me like a curtain being drawn. I snapped a photo with my phone flash, lit up the room for a moment, but when I looked at the screen, the image was black completely, like the room didn't exist digitally, like it refused to be captured. The armchair creaked. I turned instantly. No one there, but the cushion had changed subtly, like weight had just lifted off of it. I approached slowly and touched the fabric. Still warm. I stumbled backward out of the room, slammed the door shut, locked it, and ran down the hallway, nearly tripping over my own feet. As I descended the stairs, I threw the key into my backpack, zipped it, and didn't look back. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my bed with every light on, but even in brightness, darkness can creep in. At exactly 2:14 a.m., I woke up with a jolt. Even though I never remembered falling asleep, my phone was in my hand, unlocked, open to my gallery, and there it was, the photo I had taken in room 9. But it had changed. It wasn't black anymore. It was her, the woman sitting in the chair, her face still, her eyes on me, but this time her hand was raised, pointing at me. I dropped the phone. My heart thundered in my throat, and as I scrambled to grab it off the floor, the screen flickered and shut off completely. I held down the power button. Nothing. Dead. I sat frozen for the rest of the night, afraid to move, afraid to breathe too loud. In the morning, my phone was gone, vanished. Nowhere in the room, not even under the bed or slipped between sheets. The only thing left on my pillow was a photograph, black and white, a printed photo of me sitting in that chair wearing a dress I didn't own, in a room I hadn't entered again. And scrawled across the back of it in neat cursive ink were the words, "Room 9 remembers you." I didn't tell Milton I wanted to. I even stood outside his office, hand raised to knock, but something held me back. A quiet knowing, an internal resistance, like if I told someone, even him, something worse would follow. Maybe saying it aloud would give it power, and maybe the photograph was already doing that on its own. I kept it folded inside the bottom of my suitcase, wrapped in a sweater I no longer wanted to wear. Every time I touched it, I felt a kind of static, like a memory I never had was trying to rise through my skin, but that's impossible, right? You can't remember something that hasn't happened yet. Still, for days after the world shifted slightly around me, guests would glance toward me, then do double takes like they thought they'd seen me twice. One woman even said, "Didn't I just speak to you upstairs?" When I'd been in the kitchen all morning, another guest asked about the woman who stood in the upstairs window at night, described her as slender, dark-haired, wearing a white dress. "That's our housekeeper, Lena," Milton replied plainly, not even looking up from his ledger. But I hadn't been upstairs that night. I hadn't worn white in weeks. That night, I locked my door, shut the curtains, and placed a chair in front of the doorknob. It felt childish, like I was trying to outwit a ghost with IKEA furniture, but I didn't know what else to do. Around 3 a.m., I heard movement upstairs, not footsteps, something slower, dragging like bare feet across aged floorboards. Then came the sound I feared the most, the creak of room 9's door. My window rattled once, then stopped. A soft knock, not on my door, but from inside the room, like someone tapping on the wall just behind my head. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I lay still until morning, when the sounds faded with the light. When I finally forced myself back up the stairs the next afternoon, I brought a flashlight, gloves, and my courage packed in shallow breaths. Room 9 was locked again. My key still zipped in the bag, wouldn't turn, like the door had changed its mind. I stood there, hand trembling, when something slid out from beneath the door. A photograph, another one. I picked it up dreading what I already knew would be there. Was the same chair, same angle, but now the woman in the photo wasn't facing the camera anymore. She was standing back, turned, reaching for the door for me. And behind her, just barely visible in the shadows, was another version of her sitting still. Staring, there were two of her, two of me. I dropped the photo and backed away. But I couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere inside that room I was already present. Already seated, already photographed. That night Milton left unexpectedly, he said. His mother had fallen ill. He tossed me the ink keys and said, "Just keep things quiet, don't go poking around upstairs." Then he paused. "And if someone knocks after midnight," he added, "don't answer, not even if it sounds like me." The door closed behind him. He didn't look back. I was alone now, alone with the guests, the rooms, the ocean wind, and the door that kept appearing in my dreams. That night I had another, only this time I wasn't standing in the hallway looking into room 9. I was already inside, facing the mirror above the vanity. My reflection didn't match my movement. It tilted its head, smiled slightly, and lifted its hand to wave. But I didn't. I woke up gasping cold sweat, my reflection in the window. Staring too long before it finally blinked, but the window was only glass, right? I ran to the lobby, to the guest book. I needed something to tether me back to truth, back to real names. Real dates, flipping back through entries, my hands stopped on a name written in ink that was older than the others, faded yet clear. Lena Moreau, October 12, 1937. My name, my handwriting 90 years ago. No one else had signed in that day. The notes section beside the entry read, "Housekeeper. Temporary, observed twice in upper hall by guests, appears unsettled." My knees buckled. I sat on the floor staring at the page. A mirror from the past was opening, and I was no longer sure which side of it I belonged to. I didn't sleep after finding my name in the guest book. I couldn't, even if I wanted to. My body ached in ways I couldn't explain, like every breath I took bent some forgotten rule of this place. The guest book page with my name from 1937 stayed folded in my back pocket, as if keeping it close could anchor me in this reality and not the one trying to pull me under. I spent most of the day pacing the lower floors, staring up at the ceiling every time a floorboard groaned above. The guests were quiet, too quiet at breakfast. A man asked if I had a twin, then laughed it off when I said no, but he looked unnerved, spoon pausing midair like he wasn't joking at all. "I saw someone that looked just like you last night standing outside room 9, he mumbled before excusing himself. I hadn't even gone upstairs. I hadn't touched that hallway since the second photograph appeared. I called Milton 4 times that day. No answer, left 2 voicemails, no response. By 9 p.m. I was sitting on the front steps with a flashlight and a cigarette I didn't remember buying, watching the trees sway under the moonlight, and trying to convince myself I hadn't slipped into someone else's memories. The wind whispered the same way it always did, but tonight it was repeating my name, not with a voice, but a rhythm like the waves had learned to chant, "Lena, Lena," over and over again until my skin rippled. When I went back inside, the power flickered 3 times and went out completely. No storm, no lightning, just gone. The inn fell into a blanket of suffocating silence. I lit one of the hurricane lanterns from the lobby shelf and decided to check the fuse box, but as I passed the front desk, the bell rang by itself, a soft ding, the kind that says "I'm here," not "I need help." I froze. My shadow stretched across the hallway like something separate from me. I whispered, "Hello?" Even though I knew I shouldn't have. The upstairs floor creaked, one long step, then another, my hands trembled. I turned the lantern off, held my breath, and pressed my back to the wall, heart hammering. The steps moved closer to the edge of the stairway and then paused. I waited, nothing. 5 minutes, 10. I turned the lantern back on. No one was there. The staircase was empty. I crept up slowly against every instinct. I had the way a body moves when it isn't entirely convinced it's in charge anymore. At the top of the stairs, I turned toward room 9's hidden corner and saw the door was wide open inside. The window was open too, curtains blowing in wind that shouldn't have reached that far. And the chair was now facing the door. I didn't enter. I didn't have to, because something else had, and left its message behind another photograph pinned to the floor with a rusty nail. As if the room wanted to be sure I saw it, I crouched, picked it up, and this time I didn't gasp. I didn't flinch. I just stared. The photo showed the hallway, the upstairs, one same angle as if taken from room 9's doorway. In the frame were 2 women, one with her back turned, wearing the white dress, walking toward room 8. The other walking behind her was me, wearing clothes I had never worn and smiling. I dropped the photo, stumbled back, and nearly fell down the stairs. When I reached my room, I slammed the door, pushed the dresser against it, and locked myself in. My mirror, the small one hanging above the desk, was cracked. I hadn't touched it, but now the crack ran down the center, separating My face in two, and something in the reflection flickered behind me. I turned fast. No one. But the reflection still lingered like a photo that hadn't caught up yet. I pulled the photo from my pocket, the one with the name in the guest book. I turned it over. My name was still there, but underneath it, written faintly now in smeared pencil, was a second line that hadn't been there before. She comes when you forget who you are. That night I tried not to sleep, but eventually I drifted, and I dreamed not of room 9 this time, but of a mirror in the sea. A glass wall standing upright in the surf, and me walking toward it, only the reflection didn't walk and sink. It waited, and then it whispered, "You were me first." I woke up choking on seawater that wasn't there, sheets, soaked hair, drenched sand between my toes. The mirror above the desk? Now perfectly whole, no crack, just me and a version of myself that blinked a half-second too late by. Now I'd accepted a strange truth. Not because I understood it, but because the world around me stopped arguing otherwise, that there were pieces of me scattered in a room. I didn't remember entering wearing clothes. I never owned smiling in photographs. I had never posed for Rune. 9 had become less of a place and more of a presence, a breathing, watching thing that was slowly writing me into its walls. I stopped calling Milton. He wasn't coming back. The phone line in the inn went dead 2 days ago. The guests dwindled without explanation, one by one leaving. Without checking out, like they'd seen something, they didn't know how to describe something. Their minds chose to forget instead of understand. I would find half-folded towels in empty rooms, hot tea still steaming on bedside tables, and a strange silence that felt like it had weight. It felt like the house was forgetting them before. I could have kept seeing her, the other me, not in dreams anymore, but in windows, in the reflection of polished furniture. In the hallway mirror that always seemed just a little fogged over, even when dry. She'd stand still, hands by her sides, always watching, never moving. But I knew she was waiting for what I didn't know until the morning. I opened the bottom drawer of the hallway cabinet and found the original photograph, the one hanging in room 9, tucked neatly between 2 old books labeled in pencil on the back. Lena, 1937, before she changed. I sat there for hours, knees to chest, staring at those words. It wasn't just a mistake, a coincidence of names or faces. It was a cycle, a pattern, maybe even a trap. But the trap wasn't room 9. The trap was forgetting. Every night the reflection got faster. It started moving before I did, smiling first, frowning, deeper, eyes sharper. I covered all the mirrors with sheets, but the feeling stayed, like someone breathing on the back of my neck, waiting for me to turn. I wanted to burn the photograph, but something told me it wouldn't matter, it would return. They always did. Then came the night I made a mistake. I lit the fireplace in the guest lounge for the first time in weeks, needing something warm. In all that cold silence, the flames flickered, the air smelled like ash and old paper, and in the middle of the firewood, tucked between the logs, was a photograph. Crisp, not burned, pulled from a place that didn't obey physics. I used tongs to pull it out. This time it showed me outside, standing on the porch, staring up at the second-floor window. Behind the glass, another me looked down, smiling, but the me in the photo? She was gone from the porch. The longer I stared, the more the me behind the window began to change. Her eyes became darker, lips thinner, cheeks paler. Like whatever had been imitating me was done pretending. I dropped the photo. It landed face up, and then I heard her speak, not aloud, but from inside my head, like her voice had always been there, buried behind my thoughts. "I only needed you to remember me. Now I don't need you at all." The lantern in the hallway shattered. The air turned cold, but my skin prickled with goosebumps that wouldn't go away. Every photo in the hallway tilted one foul. I ran upstairs, not knowing what I was chasing or escaping, only that I couldn't sit still. Room 9's door stood wide open, and inside the chair was gone. The mirror above the vanity now stretched from floor to ceiling, warped like a funhouse reflection. When I stepped into the doorway, I saw her standing at the far end, me, but not me. Wearing the dress, hair longer, smile sharp enough to cut glass. "You were the last," she said. Her voice didn't echo in the room, it echoed in me. "They all forgot, but you remembered. That means I don't have to be you anymore." She stepped forward. The mirror rippled like water. I tried to back away, but my feet wouldn't move. The reflection lunged not into me, but through me, cold shot at my spine. My knees gave out. When I opened my eyes, the room was empty. I was still in the doorway. But the mirror was blank now, just a surface, the reflection gone, and my face looked different, subtle at first. But it wasn't mine. The tilt of the mouth, the arch of the brow, the heaviness behind the eyes. She had taken something from me or left something inside me. The photograph on the floor behind me now showed only one person, sitting alone, staring forward. But this time it wasn't her in the chair, it was me, and I wasn't looking at the camera. I was looking at the door, waiting for someone else to enter next. I stopped looking into mirrors after that night, not out of fear, but because I no longer trusted. What stared back, it wasn't that the reflection was entirely unfamiliar. It was worse than that, it was almost right. Every glimpse showed me a version of myself that blinked too slow or tilted its head too early or smiled when I wasn't smiling. It became a cruel mimicry, one that whispered not, "I am you, but I'm what's left after you're gone." I tried to keep myself grounded. I cleaned the guest rooms like clockwork, served coffee, refolded linens that had already been folded. I wrote lists just to remember what day it was, but the guests had all gone now. I hadn't seen another soul in over a week, and the inn, once gently creaky with the charm of an old home, had become utterly silent, not empty silent. There's a difference. Silence has a weight to it when it's hiding something. The furniture collected more dust than usual, but I stopped dusting. I didn't bother anymore. It didn't matter, not when every night room 9's door clicked open on its own. I never saw. It moved, just heard it, that slow, deliberate click every night at 2:14 a.m. And every morning a new photograph, always tucked under my door, always showing me. In places I hadn't been: the cellar, the woodshed, the beach below, the cliffs, sometimes in the white dress, sometimes barefoot. In one I was smiling up at the attic window, which had been locked since I arrived. And yet I was there. I started burning the photos one by one, fireplace, backyard, even tried tearing them up, but they always came. Back in drawers beneath my pillow, stuffed inside books I hadn't touched. The ink on the back of the photos changed 2 phrases. Like, "You remember now," or "She waited long enough," or worse, "Next time don't leave." I began hearing the voice more often, not just in dreams, but while awake, in the crackle of the radio static, in the rush of ocean wind past the window. A voice that sounded almost like mine, and always it said the same thing. "Let me in." I stopped eating much. I forgot meals, then forgot sleep, then forgot what I came here for at all. I couldn't recall the friend who referred me to be in. Couldn't remember what city I'd lived in before I found my own handwriting on a guest record from 1979. Then, again in 1952, then again in 1913, each name different but the same middle initial. Each signature ending with a small flourish. I never noticed I did. I wasn't the first. I was just the most recent version of something that always came back. Here, room 9 wasn't a room, it was a lens, a frame, a photograph being retaken over and over again until it developed perfectly, and now it was almost done. The last night came quietly, no thunder, no banging doors, no screams, just stillness. I woke up standing in room 9, no memory of walking there. I was in the dress now, the one I never owned, never touched, never bought. The chair was in place, the mirror glowing softly as if lit from behind, and in the chair sat her, me, not a reflection, not a ghost, a body, my body, pale, silent, blinking. She stood as I approached, as though giving me my turn. And I didn't resist. I sat. The chair was warm, familiar. The mirror rippled, and for the first time it didn't show me, it showed the room empty then. The shutter sound click. No camera, just the sound. But that's how I knew it was over or beginning again. Somewhere else in the house, a photograph was printing. Somewhere in the next drawer, someone would find it. And someone like me, someone who thought they were escaping something ordinary, would come looking, come staying, come sitting in this very chair. I looked down at my hands. They were still mine. But for how long? Because the room remembers, and the room doesn't forget. Not anymore, not after. I gave it what it wanted, not after I remembered her name. The name scratched faintly into the back of the mirror now. Lena, last photo taken. Somehow I expected that sitting in the chair giving in would end it. That room 9 would release me. That I'd become part of the story, yes, but in a way that would finally let me rest. But room 9 isn't merciful. It doesn't grant peace. It documents. It observes. It waits. I don't remember falling asleep in the chair, but I remember waking up to light flooding the room from behind the mirror. It wasn't sunlight. It wasn't electric. It was flat, cold, like the white glare of a scanner. I stood unsure of how long I'd been sitting. My legs ached. My back creaked like the floorboards beneath me. I expected to see the woman, the other me, standing there again, ready to trade places once more. But the room was empty. I was alone. I stepped toward the mirror, half hoping to find my face. But there was nothing, not blank, not cracked, just gone, a flat silver void, as if the mirror no longer knew what I looked like. I left room 9, slowly walked the hallway with my hand grazing the wall, like I had to confirm it was still real. I descended the stairs. The front door was wide open. Morning had arrived. Fog thick over the cliffs, the sea beyond a quiet roar, like it was morning. But I wasn't alone anymore. A young woman stood at the gate. She was carrying a duffel bag and holding a key, one with a metal tag that read 9. She looked at me, tilted her head, and smiled nervously. "Are you Lena?" she asked. "I was told to meet someone named Lena here. I'm the new housekeeper." I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came. She looked at the building, then back at me. "They Said it's only temporary just for the fall, but it's perfect timing. I've been feeling kind of lost. I guess that a little quiet would help. I stared at her, heart folding in on itself like a paper map because I knew her face. She was me. Not exactly younger, different haircut, but the same eyes, the same voice. I stepped aside. I didn't tell her to leave. I didn't scream warnings. I let her walk inside. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded far too much like the shutter of a camera upstairs. Room 9 creaked open on its own. The mirror flickered back into existence, and in that moment, I understood. There's always a Lena. The name doesn't matter. The place doesn't change. The room just needs someone to remember, someone to reflect, and now I'm outside. I live in the hallway glances, in the whispers under the stairs, in the mirror's delay, not alive, not dead, developed, and the inn, it keeps going. The desk bell still rings. The door's still open. The fog never lifts completely. But one day someone like you, someone watching this, someone listening, might get a letter, a message, a job offer from a friend you don't talk to anymore. You'll think it's perfect, peaceful, off the grid. But if they give you the key with a 9 on it, don't take it, don't check in, don't unpack. Because once the photograph is taken, it's never deleted. It just waits to be taken again and again and again. The photo hanging in room 9 now? It's not of me, it's not of her, it's of you sitting in the chair, just about to turn around, and I promise you, you're not smiling anymore. Thank you for watching this video. If this story chilled your spine or stayed in your mind long after the lights went up, please like, subscribe, and share the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. This story is written and edited by Dark Life Side Diaries. Now, tell me, what part of the story haunted you most?